What's up, duelists? Sorry for the radio silence the last few days. I have been incredibly busy, but I have finally gotten a chance to record a couple matches for y'all. Make sure you smash a like, you subscribe, etc., etc. First things first, before we get into today's gameplay, I got a couple of things to go over. The first thing is the RBET announcement is going to be coming later this week. I promise. I've been tearing my hair out trying to get it all done, but I swear it's going to be done by the end of this week. We're going to have signups and announcements and all of the dates hopefully announced by Sunday. Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed, everybody. Fingers crossed. By this upcoming Sunday, it's all going to be announced. The next thing is I'm actually going to two tournaments this weekend. Yes, I'm going to two tournaments this weekend. I'm going to be playing at a 3v3 Edison format tournament at Collectible Exchange on Saturday. And I'm going to be playing, oh my gosh, I don't even remember the tournament. It's a 1K, it's in, oh my, what is it? M&M? Is that what it's, M&M is the name of the, I think, M&M in California. I'm going to a 1K event. But the thing is I don't know what deck to play. I own a bunch of decks, all right? And by a bunch of decks, I mean I own maybe like 5 decks with like variations on those decks that I could play. But 5 decks that's a lot of decks. For one guy, that's a lot of decks to own. So I need help deciding what you guys want me to try and play at these tournaments. Of course, I'm going to try to play the most updated, most snazzy, most cool list of whatever it is I do end up playing. So if you guys want to see me play any one of these 5 decks, what you got to do is you got to comment below with the deck you want to see me play in one of these tournaments. The 2 decks with the most comments I will play this weekend. So whatever you guys think I should play, let me know. And let's just get into the gameplay. All right, we got a fairy deck. I played this deck very recently on the channel. I think that it's very strong. I made one change since the last time I posted with it. I cut Caius from the main deck for Sangan. And then I made a change from the side deck. I cut the Herald of Orange Light for DD Crow. And that's the only changes I've made so far to this deck. But thus far, I've been very happy with it. Playing it is a breeze. It feels strong into everything. I don't really have any complaints. Overall, I just think that this deck is just a blast to play. Some people don't like playing against it because it can be very annoying to play against. Looping DD Warrior Ladies it makes people mad. I'll say it. It makes people rage quit. In this game, or this video does have at least one rage quit in it, but let's just go ahead and get right into things. The first game is versus OB7 Yen, or Obzin, I believe, which is the debut album from Meshuggah, if I'm not crazy. I could be wrong. Alright, opening hand, I get to go first. I have Trigodia, and this deck, you have a couple of power cards. You've got Trigodia, that's it. It's just Trigodia game 1. He's kind of your boss monster game 1. Game 2 and 3, you got Gores and Chaos Sorcerer, and they come up a lot, and I side them in a lot. But game 1, you only have Trigodia, and if you do draw him, your deck goes from like solid to insane. So yeah, we've got the Trigodia. I'm just gonna start spamming Alchemist because fuck it, we ball. So I go Alchemist, miss, but whatever. We're gonna get at least one more activation. We have Honest to protect it, and even if it dies, like whatever. Opponent T-sets, passes back. We draw Warrior Lady. I'm like, all right, I could summon the Warrior Lady. I could commit further. Let's just see what DL hits first to be safe. So we flip the top card. We banish Book of Moon. Not bad, not bad. Banishing Book of Moon is a total miss, but you know what? It's cool. It's cool. Maybe I didn't want to draw that Book of Moon anyway. We'll just attack with the Alchemist here. No need to play into a sweeper until we have something banished. So we're just going to attack. We're going to hit the Raikou, Lightsworn Hunter. Had it been a Battle Recruiter, we may have considered heralding it, although that would have made our Trag very bad. I might have just let the Battle Recruiter resolve and been like, all right, take the L there, you know what I mean? But I think swinging here is fine. He does have that Raikou, so he's going to pop the Alchemist, mill 3. And you know what? Nothing ventured, nothing gained, all right? Nothing ventured, nothing gained. It's like we just started the game all over again. Main phase 2, summon the DD Warrior Lady, represent the Honest, try to force a bottomless trap hole maybe, set Mirror Force, maybe a misplay because I want my Trigodia to be strong, but I think it's best to diversify. I do know that my opponent is now playing the Happy Pills or the Happy Pills Lightsworn deck because I see a Valkyrian and Raikou, so yeah, pretty much you can deduce the deck. Opponent's going to set one back row, summon Card Trooper, activate Card Trooper, mill 3, hits another Valkyrian. Does have the combo for Dark Calling here, but isn't going to go for it. Now you'll notice the opponent's back row They're a little bit strange. Not something you'd expect to see in the back row. Card destruction and dark calling, right? Setting them to the back row doesn't make a whole lot of sense. I feel like you wouldn't want to set them to the back row unless you're trying to bluff something or get me to do something silly. But the opponent is now going to ram the card trooper into my DD warrior lady, and I'm just going to say, all right, I'll special trag and I'll banish your card trooper. So that's what's going to happen. Main phase 2 goes for the card destruction, and that's going to get rid of both our Honest and our Herald of Orange Light, which is unfortunate because both those cards are excellent versus Dark Calling. But that being said, we still have a pretty good setup. We have Tragodia, which is pressure, and we do have Mirror Force to stop it, unless he's able to find a Lila or another Raikou here. He did already normal summon Card Trooper, so he can't normal summon yet this turn. He's going to trade in, pitch Mass Beast as Guardius, draw a couple more cards, and then just pass the turn back. We draw Space Typhoon, which is really nice that they have committed their Dark Calling and not chosen to activate it. They could have activated it, but because my opponent doesn't know that I'm playing without Christia, it's kind of a high risk. He could activate it, and then I could pitch Christia and steal his Dark Gaia and reversal OTK him, which is funny. A lot of these games that I play with this deck, my opponent goes way out of their way to play around Christia, and it turns out that the threat of Christia almost is as effective as Christia itself, and you just don't even really need it. It's quite funny. So yeah, we're up at 24, we go to 18, and then we attack with both, deal to 37. Main phase 2, Typhoon. We did this to play around the Gorge, which is in his graveyard. I don't know why. I just didn't check the graveyard to see that Gorge was there. But yeah, the Dark Calling makes sense. The reason we wanted Typhoon is it's most likely a spell card he wanted to protect when he went for the card destruction, maybe something like a trade-in or a solar recharge. We get very lucky, and we pick off one of the 3 Dark Callings. Now we can set both our other back row. This does put our Trag to 0, but it gives us maximum protection up against Lila and a Dark Calling. He's going to go ahead and normal Jane swing, and we've got Mirror Force for that Jane. He's going to pass back. We're going to be able to hit with both. Unfortunately for us, we didn't hit a single monster off Alchemist, so we're not able to go quite for game, but 2,500 is still pretty strong, and Thunder King is nice insurance versus JD here, so we're actually just big chilling. Set the Solemn, pass the turn back. Here comes Monster Reincarnation, targeting Gores. I just let that resolve because I can kill through Gores by just summoning a monster big enough. He's going to go ahead and special the Gaia Plate. We'll use Thunder King to negate that. Now we know he has Gores and one more card, and we've got Solemn Judgment plus Torrential Tribute to stop that. He's going to go ahead and Dark Calling into Evil Hero Dark Gaia, and I feel pretty comfortable going for the Torrential Tribute now, saving the Solemn Judgment for any dangerous top deck. We top deck Kaiku the Ghost Destroyer, we're able to go for game. The opponent then quits out of the match. So, unfortunately, we were not able to get a game 2 versus this deck. I would have really liked to see this matchup. I think that we are favored because we have a lot of stun cards that make it difficult for Dark Gaia to play. Namely, Herald of Orange Light, Honest, and Kaiku. I think the matchup is going to be very bad for him. Grandmole also very difficult for the Gaia deck to kill through. So I think that because we have such a high level of key points of interaction in his combos, then I think the matchup is probably going to be pretty good for us post-board. But you never really know. Maybe he has a crazy Decree JD draw. You know what I mean? Maybe we don't find Kaiku and we just get kind of run over because we draw too many Alchemists or something like that. So it would have been interesting to see the match. I think that it's a really interesting matchup because we have interaction with the combo. The one thing that I think makes Dark Gaia a little bit unfun for me personally is oftentimes you're playing against decks that just like can't interact with you, and so it's just like I hit my combo, I win. I hit my combo, I win. I hit my combo, I win. And it's part of the reason I haven't built Dark Calling in paper yet, because there's a lot of that. But I think in matchups where it's interactive, I think Dark Gaia is like one of the coolest decks because you're always threatening like this really big, huge monster or whatever. Let's get into the next match. This is where the juicy stuff happens. The next match is versus Ryza Oni. I hit him with the good luck, have fun, and then I immediately lose the rock, paper, scissors, which sucks, but such is life. We have double Thunder King, we have Herald without a fairy, which does happen quite a bit in this deck because you only play 9 fairies, but you know that's just the price you pay. And of course he has his e-call for Stratos going first when we have double Thunder King in hand. And this is kind of the downside of Thunder King, is that going second versus heroes, it's like it's not the best. It does run over the Stratos, but it's still just not the best. He's going to go ahead and have Future Fusion as well, which is really unfortunate because that's the best card in his deck, and it just represents a big threat. He's going to set 2 back row here, probably representing some sort of Starlight Road, some sort of Solemn Judgment. So I'm like, all right, if one of those is Starlight or Solemn Judgment or chainable like Hero Blast, I still think the best play is to just go Thunder King, attack the Stratos. Maybe he uses the chainable Hero Blast to pop, but then I have Call to bring back Thunder King to defend myself at least next turn, and we can maybe figure things out from there. But it's a pretty tough ask to go second into Stratos Future Fusion set 2 with no pieces of back row removal and only normal summons. So pretty tough hand for us here. We could have also brain controlled and then gone for the Herald, but that's just like really, really high risk into the Hero Blast as a 2-for-1 into Hero Blast. So we just run over the Stratos. He's got his own alias here. He's going to attack over the Thunder King. So now we know his hand is Prisma plus 2 unknowns. He's going to have the Honest as well, which is just really, really solid start from him. He's got Stratos, Honest, and the Future Fusion along with a couple of back row. Can't really ask for much more from this type of deck. We draw Sangan, which is actually not too bad of a draw. We can set him and try to pick up DD Warrior Lady to stabilize. So we're going to set the Sangan. He's going to bring out Absolute Zero in defense. Absolutely no reason for him to summon it in defense here. Just playing way too cautiously around Mirror Force. I would have absolutely Mirror Forced the Neos alias if I had it. Like, fuck it. Spark be damned. You know what I mean? But he's going to attack the set monster. Sangan's going to activate. We're going to go ahead and add that Grand Mole. Try to use the Grand Mole to get rid of the Absolute Zero. I have a very, very strong feeling that this Grand Mole is not going to be able to connect, which is unfortunate, but such is life. We're going to summon the Grand Mole, attack the Absolute Zero, and he's got Compulsory here to put back the Grand Mole, which does suck because our life total is starting to get real low. We go for Call of the Haunted, and he goes for Royal Oppression. So completely disregards Heavy Storm, just setting cards like a noob, and this is going to come back to bite him in the future. You guys will see. Sometimes, you know what? Sometimes it pays off to just set everything and be a noob, but as far as match play goes, I think this is one of those things you can only get away with once in a match. That's pretty much it. Anyway, we set the bottomless trap hole. He continues to play around Mirror Force for no real reason, just giving us extra turns. Sets a new back row, and then the new back row's got to answer Grand Mole, right? So I summon the Grand Mole, I swing, and it does. It's Gemini Spark to pop the Grand Mole. He's going to draw a couple new cards, and that's going to be all she wrote for us here in a second here because of that Royal Oppression. So pretty fortunate start for the opponent, but we do get to sideboard, and I think this matchup goes from like good to unlosable post sideboard. You just bring in triple breaker, double dust tornado, bring in all your powerful dark monsters like Gores and Chaos Sorcerer, and those cards just go way over the top of anything Hero Beat is doing. Like, okay, you can spam your alias, like go off king, but then what? You know what I mean? I'm going to stick my Gores, I'm going to stick my Chaos Sorcerer. None of your cast can attack over these cards. It's very, very difficult for them to have meaningful interaction. Breaker just gets a +1 every time it comes down. It's very easy to get pluses off of Compulsory. If they try to spark your monster, you compulse your monster, and then you just 2-for-1 them. It's just a really, really solid matchup post board. So we get to bring in all our best cards, and we get to side out all of our dead cards, which is one thing that's pretty nice about this deck is you're not like forced to keep in Herald of Orange or like weird shit like hella battle recruiters into a potential light mirror because you don't have those Christias. In this matchup, I actually sided out both Herald of Orange and all 3-Dimensional Alchemist because fuck it, why not? Dimensional Alchemist doesn't really line up well against his cards. It just doesn't beat over Alias ever. It doesn't beat over Cyber Dragon ever. It doesn't even attack over defense position Honest, and it's only okay into Snowman Eater. So I'm like, all right, I'm just going to cut all of these and bring in my breakers, and that's going to be my normal summon there. And then Gores and Chaos Sorcerer will be a little bit more effective than Herald of Orange Light in this matchup. So the cool thing about this deck is you can kind of transmute into a Chaos deck post board, and that just does a really good job against the majority of the meta because Chaos good stuff, surprisingly in Edison format, or I should say unsurprisingly in Edison format, is a very strong strategy because it's unsurprisingly a very strong strategy in almost every format to play Chaos good stuff. So yeah, we go ahead and draw our 5 cards, and we've opened up with Thunder King Ryo, which is fantastic. I go ahead and set the Call of the Haunted behind the Thunder King. In case he pops it, I can chain call to a E-Call or a Rhoda and just completely shut him down. He summons the alias, he sets 3, then he passes back to us. Now our hand does have Tragodia, so it's on a different level here. And I do think he does have some sort of D-Prison, but there's a way to confirm it, and I think it's Summon Breaker, the Magical Warrior. And that's exactly what I do. I summon Breaker. If he sparks on the summon of Breaker, then that means he absolutely has a D-Prison set. He's going to spark my Breaker, draw his card, and very strong tempo advantage for us. But that being said, I'm kind of in a tough spot where I have to play into this D-Prison at some point. I did side out Book of Moon. I don't think Book of Moon is very good in this matchup in general. It does help you play into D-Prison kinda, but I think you just swing your monsters into the D-Prison and just say, fuck it, we ball. So that's exactly what I do. Even though we did decipher that there was a deep prison down, we are still going to end up playing into it and making things a little bit more awkward for us than maybe we needed to. We still do have Call of the Haunted on Breaker, but that's not as good as Call of the Haunted on Thunder King, unfortunately. And if he does have search cards, he will be free to play them as of right now. Thankfully for us, he doesn't. He just has Grand Mole. Grand Mole attacks for 900, and we are able to special summon our Tragodia. Opponent was playing a little bit quick here, so maybe he was in a hurry. Maybe, maybe not. We are able to draw into Bottomless, and now we can kind of call target Breaker. He's forced to act. If he has a Bottomless there, he has to spend it on the Breaker. Otherwise, Breaker attacks Grand Mole, and what are you going to do? Bounce my Breaker? It could not be a worse situation for you to have Grand Mole, basically. I'm going to summon Shining Angel. Shining Angel attacks, and that's just going to pump up my Trag, so I deal more damage, which is really nice. Set the Deep Prison and pass. Deep Prison can grab the Grand Mole if he decides to summon it and swing into the Tragodia. He's going to summon Alias and swing, and I'm just like, all right, I'll take my 2-for-1 if you've got Gemini Spark. Fuck it. But it looks like he doesn't. He just has compulsory to return his Alias, which is quite silly because it's not like Alias can get over Tragodia. So we're going to draw Gores, and we've drawn all our boss monsters. So this matchup gets very easy when you do draw your boss monsters. It kind of makes me miss the Caius the Shadow Monarch a little bit because he's kind of a fourth boss monster that helps you versus these little monster aggro decks. Little in air quotes. Alias is pretty strong, don't get me wrong, but it's just not as strong as some of the powerful dark monsters in the format. We're just going to hit for 24, keep it simple. Pressure the opponent, set that Bottomless in case the Alias comes down. He's going to go for a 2-for-1 Heavy Storm, which is excellent for us. That means that now our board is kind of open. We can summon the Angel or set the Angel or force him to play into this Angel, basically. And then Chaos Sorcerer will be live. We know about the Grand Mole, so I'm just going to summon the Angel because setting the Angel just turns on Grand Mole for no reason. We're going to go ahead and attack into the Alias, grab DD Warrior Lady, attack, banish his monster, plays into Bottomless because Shining Angel has 1400, and then DD Warrior Lady is summoned in the damage step. So able to keep the key Alias banished. He does still have that other Alias in the graveyard, which will come up later if he's able to find Hero Blast, but still pretty good for us. Summon Grand Mole, hit for 900. Not going to drop Gores on that. I'd rather get a higher value token. Plus, if he has Solemn Judgment for my Chaos Sorcerer, then it gets kind of awkward. Gores versus Grand Mole. It doesn't really line up right. So I'm going to go ahead and banish Special Sork and try to banish the Grand Mole with priority. Thankfully, that does resolve. He doesn't have Royal Oppression. He's going to chain Bottomless Trap Hole. So we're going to get our 2-for-1, which is exactly why the boss monsters are so key in this matchup, as they often get you 2-for-1s. Just normal summon Sangan, hit for 1000, and set Bottomless and pass. If he has Stratos, it kind of sucks. We're forced to Bottomless it, but anything other than Stratos, I'm going to be pretty happy I have the Bottomless set. And there it is. It's normal summon Alias. I Bottomless. He shrinks the Alias, but then he can't attack over the Sangan, so he has to pass. We draw Kaiku, the Ghost Destroyer, which can be pretty good, but it just depends on the situation you're able to line up. So we just switch the Sangan to defense. He's going to attack over Sangan. Pretty clear grab Warrior Lady here. You just want to banish the next Alias. Keep it simple. He passes a turn back. We draw Cyber Valley. That's going to be a good card for us because it can eat a Cyber Dragon, which is a card that he would potentially have locked in his hand right now. So we're going to go ahead and DD Warrior Lady. And as you can see, he does have a Cyber Dragon locked in his hand. So makes sense. Banish both. Pass the turn. He's going to pass the turn. I'm going to normal summon Kaiku. Get the third Alias banished. Hero Blasts are now dead off the top. He's at 400. Keep it simple. He's going to special Cyber Dragon. Normal Stratos. Search Ocean, attack, proc the Gores, and this is why if you just save Gores, you can never lose in this matchup. They really can't do anything about it. Once they get to low resources, it just guarantees you a win. On our next turn, we could have even gone Heavy Storm, normal Cyber Valley, make Chimera Tech. We could have done a bunch of crazy unfair shit, so it ended up working out really nice for us that game. Everything that I had planned for lined up perfectly, but now we are going second, and the opponent does have the ability to draw into busted cards, like Future Fusion, like Royal Oppression, or like Bottomless going first, which make it very difficult for us to sort of come back. And he does open up with that Future Fusion yet again. One thing that's nice, though, is these Alias decks opening with Future Fusion, it's only really good if you have Hero Blast. Otherwise, it's just like, okay. He's going to go ahead and send the Snowman and the Alias. Like, I'm honestly just more happy he didn't draw the Snowman than the Alias, because Snowman Eater is annoying. He goes for the Stratos, he searches the Ocean, and he sets a back row greedily into Heavy Storm and passes a turn back. And ladies and gentlemen, we top deck that Heavy Storm. So Get out of here. Get out of here with that greedy setting. Get out of here with that shit. I'm a normal summon Breaker. Breaker going to run over the Stratos. And we are going to set both and pass. The reason we set both is because if he attacks me, I just want to deprison him. And if he goes Miracle Fusion in attack, I want to deprison the Ocean, and then I'll be able to Compulsory my Breaker. He's going to summon Alias attack, and we've got the deprison. If he sparks there and doesn't target the back row, let's say he sparks, targets the Breaker, then we can compulse the Breaker, we add the Breaker back, and he doesn't get the draw from Spark, and it's just like a blowout. Just a solid 2 for 2, I guess, but in the best way, you know, because we get the Breaker back in our hand. And he can't set back row, which is the nice thing about Breakers. If you're able to defend it, your opponent just can't play the game, which is really, really sick. We're going to go ahead and draw into Bottomless Trap Hole, which is a nice one because it gives us the same position. There's no reason for us to overcommit into a potential Miracle into Absolute right now, so we're just going to set another back row. I'm going to greedily play into Heavy Storm, like I just chastised my opponent for not doing, or for doing, I guess. He summons Grammel, which is kind of silly because we can just summon our Shining Angel. And the reason I summon Shining Angel here is later I'm going to set the Warrior Lady, but I don't want him to know it's a Warrior Lady. I want him to attack into it with like an Absolute Zero or an Alias or something. So the reason we're showing Angel instead of Warrior Lady is exactly that. Trap Dust Shoot is a card that I know a lot of people cite out in this matchup. I actually don't. I think it's really good in this matchup because oftentimes they'll just have one guy. And if you just take their one guy, like they just lose. Gemini Spark doesn't do anything. Hero Blast doesn't do anything. Miracle Fusion oftentimes becomes very dead if you take like their water or something like that. So because you can shut off so much of their deck by just resolving a Trap Dust Shoot, I think it's well worth keeping in, especially when the game plan is to bring in Triple Breaker, Double Dust. And you keep the back row clear. Your opponent doesn't really want to set things into Breaker. And as a result, the Trap Dust Shoot just stays live. Trap Dust Shoot's also good because we do play that Grand Mole. And so we can bounce cards from the field back to their hands. We have Compulsory. We can bounce cards from the field back to their hands. And then we can take it with Dust Shoot. So worst case scenario, you know, we're 2 for 1-ing ourselves, but we do get the hand rip. And like I said, just taking your opponent's lone monster in this matchup or like removing their Alias or whatever, oh my gosh, it just like completely shuts this deck down. If their Alias gets banished, it's like they can't even play. It's kind of crazy. Set the Dust Shoot, and now we are going to get that perfect Dust Shoot. The draw for them was, I believe, either Dimensional. It was Dimensional Prison. So they didn't set the Hero Blast last turn, which was pretty interesting. I don't know why. Maybe they were scared of like something. I don't fucking know why you wouldn't set the Hero Blast. You kind of just need to clear the Breaker, you know, at some point. We're going to Dust Shoot, take the Grand Mole. I don't really care about the Ocean. The Soul Release is really silly. So kind of going back to what I was saying, the threat of Christia is so great versus a lot of decks that they will side around Christia, even though you don't have it. So you don't even really need Christia for your opponent to be siding in like terrible cards like Soul Release versus this deck. Like look at my deck list. Just take a second to look at my deck list. What the fuck does Soul Release do against this? It doesn't do anything against my deck. Like, okay, maybe you can Soul Release to shut off Chaos Sorcerer. Okay, maybe. And as I'm sitting here, as I'm thinking, I'm like, okay, so maybe he's brought in Soul Release to try and keep me off of Chaos Sorcerer. Kind of silly, but understandable to some degree. Mostly it's just out of fear of Christia, honestly. So we'll see if we can do something with that information later on in this game, knowing about that Soul Release. I'm going to show you a tactical DB bluff, something that only experienced players know about. We take the Grand Mole because that card's fucking annoying. I just don't give a shit about this Ocean. We can clear it every day of the week. He's going to go ahead and Miracle Fusion, and I think this is a pretty safe moment for us to just bottomless and go for the play we were talking about earlier, where we bottomless, and then we compulse the Breaker back to our hand. And he's going to set 2 cards and pass. I think this is a bit of a mistake from the opponent. I think he probably should have summoned the Ocean, but ultimately it doesn't make too much of a difference. Like 1500 damage here or there is not really going to matter too much. The Hero Blast already adds back his only hero that's in his grave, and in the case that we have a way to clear one of the back row and we hit the Hero Blast and then we Breaker pop the other one, we can run over the Ocean, which is kind of bad for him. So I understand not doing it, but he probably should have just done it because it at least gets something into play. He does know about Shining Angel though, so maybe he's thinking, I don't know if I want to do this. We draw into Royal Oppression, which unfortunately we draw into it the turn after he goes for the Miracle Fusion, but alas, you know, it'll stop further ones, so I can't really complain too much. we're just going to go ahead and set Warrior Lady and set the Oppression and pass. And this is exactly the situation I set up earlier on when I revealed to him that I had Shining Angel and not Warrior Lady. Because he's going to draw, he's going to Typhoon my back row, he's going to normal summon that Ocean, and he's going to swing thinking it is Shining Angel. When in reality, it's fucking not. Banish both monsters, force him to deal 100, and then on our turn we draw into Sangan, which would be nice, but he does have that fucking D Prison. And there's really no great way to get that D Prison right now. We could summon the Sangan and swing, but then he D Prisons, and then his last back row is a Hero Blast, and my cards don't really line up right. So what I want to initiate here is I want to initiate use of Hero Blast on one of my monsters, and then the Breaker eats the D Prison for free. That's what I want to initiate. I don't know if it's going to be possible to initiate that sort of thing, but I think the best way to do it is either try to float Shining Angel or Sangan into DD Warrior Lady, and then from that point, we force the Hero Blast on the DD Warrior Lady, or maybe a Set Honest as a way to force that Hero Blast, and then the Breaker can eat the D Prison for free. So I'm trying to turn my cards into +1s here because we're both kind of in this like weird, awkward spot where I can't really play effectively into his back row without him getting a plus off that Hero Blast. So I'm just going to set the Sangan and pass and try to grab either Warrior Lady or Honest. He's going to summon Alias off the top, so we still have perfect information, and we're just going to grab that Honest. And like I said, I'm trying to force that Hero Blast to be used. On our turn, we draw a second Breaker, which is really nice because he's just a big boy. Going to go ahead and set Shining Angel. He's going to attack into Shining Angel. That's going to float us into DD Warrior Lady. And he is going to Soul Release, banish my monsters. And hold up, I wish I could go back like one play or something like that. But basically what I did was I took a second here and I looked at my graveyard. I just opened up my graveyard and looked at my graveyard. Now, I have not been looking at my graveyard the whole game. I did it the first time here with Shining Angel hitting the grave because I wanted to bluff maybe a Chaos Sorcerer, and I wanted him to Soul Release now. I don't know. It's just silly, but it gets the Soul Release out of his hand. It forces him to use it early, thinking we might have Chaos Sorcerer, when in reality we just don't. So we get the Soul Release out of his hand with a little bluff there. Just me fanning out my graveyard, looking at it intently, maybe representing a Chaos Sorcerer in ways that we don't actually have it. We draw into Grammel, which is fine. I can switch the DD Warrior Lady to defense now. Or no, I summon Breaker, and that's going to eat his top decked bottomless trap hole, which is a little unfortunate. I was about to use it to pop his new back row because it's guaranteed not possible chainable. The other two, it's a 50-50, which one is the chainable and which one is not, but this one is most likely not a chainable. It could still be just another Hero Blast or something like that, but at the worst case scenario, you know, like if it's another Hero Blast, then he can't Hero Blast my Warrior Lady, which I'm pretty happy about. So I'm going to go for the Breaker, and that's going to eat the bottomless, which, okay, you know, that's kind of what Breaker does in some cases. And I'm just going to switch the Warrior Lady because, once again, I don't want to give him that action ability on his D Prison. I don't want to give him value out of his D Prison. I want him to be forced to use the Hero Blast now. And that's exactly what he's forced to do. He draws another Hero Blast, which is a total brick here because he only has one Alias in the grave. He's going to Hero Blast. He's going to deal us 38, and this Gambit, this +1 Gambit, is going to put us in a bad spot because we are going to take a bunch of damage. But I think because we're at 8,000 and we have Honest to set and chill on, we're actually fine. I draw into Chaos Sorcerer, which is fantastic. We don't have a Dark just yet, but we do have Breaker the Magical Warrior, which will eventually be a Dark. We just set the Honest and pass. He draws into Rhoda, which doesn't really get him anywhere. All of his monsters are 1900 or less, so he's forced to just attack into the Honest and pass. If he had DD Warrior Lady in his list, which I think all of the good Hero Beat lists play one DD Warrior Lady, he would have been able to Rhoda for DD Warrior Lady here and probably just win the game straight up. But it looks like he's not playing DD Warrior Lady, which he should be playing, honestly. All the good lists play it, so. We draw into Gores, which is just extra insurance for us. It's very, very nice. And we are able to go for that Breaker and finally get our +1 on his stupid D Prison. Now, because he's been playing around Chaos Sorcerer this whole game, he's going to continue to do that by not killing my Breaker. He's going to draw a Torrential Tribute, set 2 and pass. Back to us. Standby phase, main phase 1. I'm going to bounce my Honest to my hand and reset it just so it's not vulnerable to Hero Blast immediately. And then I'm going to switch the breaker to defense because I kind of just want to bait him into attacking my breaker. Maybe he's playing around Trag or something like that. But he's just not going to do it. He's just not going to attack over my breaker. He could tribute summon Cyber Dragon here now, but then it just makes his torrential even more awkward. And we do pick up our own Cyber Dragon, which is really nice. So we're able to tribute summon Cyber Dragon. Honestly, what he should do here is probably just torrential. Just take your 2 for 3 and then have a live Hero Blast. I feel like that's like, I've already normal summoned. Get rid of this Honest that's been giving you a headache. But he doesn't do that. I go ahead and attack the Alias and go to damage, and he just doesn't do it. He just takes 200, and I'm like, all right. Main phase 2, I'm going to flip the Honest and activate the effect of the Honest to bounce. He has a total opportunity here to Torrential or Hero Blast or get his +1s when he can, but he just chooses not to do that and allows me to bounce my Honest. And now I'm able to go for Chaos Sorcerer and try to banish his Alias. And now he goes for Torrential Tribute, but it's just kind of an awkward spot for him because now he can't Cyber Dragon. His Hero Blast is going to be forced to use for no value if he wants to add something back. He can Rhoda for something, but then he's just playing into Gores, so it's just not using it when you should have used it type beat, I feel. He draws into Solemn Judgment. He's forced to just set that and pass. We draw Typhoon. I'm going to normal summon Grandmal and just attack. He's going to Hero Blast here, but, like, who cares, you know? Like, Grandmal wasn't really doing that much at this point anyway. And I just want to force him to play into my Gores. I'm going to set Typhoon and pass. He's going to normal Alias. He's going to swing. We're going to go ahead and Typhoon, target the new set because it's most likely to be a Battle Trap. The middle set hasn't been used thus far on my Cyber Dragon attack or anything. So, yeah, we're just going to pick off the Judgment, take 19, drop Gores, and, yeah, just kind of crush because we have lethal in play. I'm going to switch the token, switch the Gores, attack, turn player priority with Honest, and win the game. So, yeah, pretty easy stuff. Inducing the Rage Quit, no GGs. Ooh, brutal. Maybe he had somewhere to be. He was playing kind of quick, but at the end of the day, don't cut DD Warrior Lady from your hero beat deck. I feel like that's a mistake. I feel like if you're playing any deck with Rhoda at all, you should be... Where's the Rhoda? Oh, it's still set. You should consider DD Warrior Lady as an option. Especially decks like this, which I think suck really badly into battle recruiters. Definitely consider it as an option. Some decks, maybe like Vayu Turbo, where you play Rhoda and you have Raikos, you have Kaiases, you have ways to get through battle recruiters, is not as necessary. Maybe decks like Malicious Diva Hero, where you have Kaiases, Phoenix Wings, etc. It's not as necessary. But decks like this, where you're ultimately just summoning like vanillas every single turn, I'd definitely consider having a DD Warrior Lady as just a searchable way to deal with those set monsters. It definitely costs the opponent the game here not having that option in his deck. Good stuff, though. Good stuff. I think this deck is super fun. It's definitely one of the few decks that I'm considering bringing to one of these tournaments. But like I said, I can't make up my mind. And I want to make sure that whatever content I do for you guys at the end of the day is what you guys want to see. I could play Black Wings, I could play Fairies, but I've played those decks before, and maybe you guys want to see them, maybe you don't. Maybe you guys want to see me take another crack at Dragons or Machinas. I've never played Machinas in a tournament before. Maybe you guys want to see me take another crack at Quick Draw. I got pretty close to topping the last tournament I entered with Quick Draw. I went 5-2 and bubbled at 13th. So maybe that's something you guys want to see, maybe not. If you guys want to see more gameplay actually with this Fairy deck, I did just upload a really long video to members only, and in a couple of those matchups I actually play against this deck, and it shows just how good this deck is and how resilient it is against even me trying to beat it. Even the guy who knows how the deck works, it's still a really hard deck to beat. So definitely check that out if you want to become a member. It's like $2.99 a month, and it helps me make content like this for you guys and fund the RBET tournaments, which again, announcement coming this week. And thank you guys for your patience, continued patience, and thank you guys for your support. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.